nation. But we're going to begin today with the month of July, because July is an auspicious month for the Intelligence and Security Committee of the British Parliament. July is the month that they release their most important reports, and by important I mean propagandist. The Intelligence and Security Committee says it oversees the policies, expenditure, administration and operations of MI5, MI6, GCHQ, Defence Intelligence, the National Cyber Force, the Joint Intelligence Organization, the National Security Secretariat, and Homeland Security Group. That's quite a security and intelligence infrastructure there, Charles.
It absolutely is,
isn't it? Right. Anyway, why is July important? Well, if we put this on screen, July 2020, they released their report entitled Russia. In July 2023, it was China. And just a few days ago, it was Iran. Now, to get an idea of the standard of these reports, let's just remind ourselves of the Russia report. The main thrust of the report was the claim that Russia has been interfering in British democratic processes, and that as a result, social media companies needed to remove covert hostile state material from their platforms, and they said the government must name and shame those platforms that failed to act. To quote them, they said at the time, the government must now seek to establish a protocol with the social media companies to ensure that they take covert hostile state use of their platform seriously and have clear timescales within which they commit to removing such material. Now, Intelligence and Security Committee member Stuart Hosey said the committee found it astonishing that no one in government had sought beforehand to protect the referendum. That's the EU referendum that he was referring to, because Britain left the EU because of Russia, so the narrative goes. Now, the report itself went on to say, open source studies have pointed to the preponderance of pro-Brexit or anti-EU stories on RT and Sputnik, and the use of bots and trolls as evidence of Russian attempts to influence the process. It went on to say the written evidence provided to us, that's the committee, appeared to suggest that Her Majesty's government had not seen or sought evidence of successful interference in UK democratic processes or any activity that's had a material impact on an election, for example, influencing results. The report also said that GCHQ has also said that Russian intelligence service actors have orchestrated phishing attempts against government departments. To take one example, there were attempts against Redacted. That's the name was redacted, so we've no idea of knowing who it was actually against, but also against, they said, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and the Defence Science and Technology Laboratory during the early stages of the investigation into the Salisbury attacks. They also claimed that the Scottish independence referendum was a Russian target, and they cited Ben Nimmo. And of course, Ben Nimmo, if we remember, was an agent of the Integrity Initiative, which was a program to run disinformation campaigns against Russia. And that wasn't the only integrity in the report, because the report went on to say, we're grateful to those outside the intelligence community, in particular, who did they name? Anne Applebaum, Edward Lucas. Well, now, Edward Lucas, of course, always denied involvement with the Integrity Initiative, but that was patently false. William Browder, Christopher Donnelly, who ran the thing, and Christopher Steele for volunteering their very substantially. So they were thanking these people all for volunteering their very substantial expertise on Russia, which they said provided them with an invaluable foundation for the classified evidence sessions. So this was absolutely plenty of Integrity Initiative. It wasn't an Intelligence Committee report. In fact, it was an Integrity Initiative report. So coming back to the Iran report, the newest report, let's have a look and see what Lord Beamish, the current chair of the committee, had to say. He said, Iran poses a wide-ranging, persistent and unpredictable threat to the UK nationals and UK interests. Iran has a high appetite for risk when conducting offensive activity, and its intelligence services are ferociously well-resourced with significant areas of asymmetric strength. It supplements this with its use of proxy groups, including criminal networks, militant and terrorist organizations, and private cyber actors, to provide it with deniable means of attacking its adversaries with minimal risk of retaliation. We highlight in particular He said, are concerned that at the sharp increase in the physical threat posed to dissidents and other opponents of the regime who are in the UK, given Iran's willingness to use assassination as an instrument of state policy, the significant threat of Iranian espionage in support of potential future lethal activity, the importance of negotiating a form of de-escalation between Iran and the international community to deal with the Iranian nuclear threat, and the need to both raise the resilience bar and improve cybersecurity in the UK, and to raise the cost to Iran of launching cyber attacks on the UK so as to deter them from doing so. So my question then is this some grand conspiracy to take us to war? Well, in my opinion, the answer to that is yes and no. The committee claims that it sets its own agenda and work program, but to suggest that there's no steering by the intelligence agency is just not credible. And of course, they choose their experts very carefully. As they say, they take evidence from ministers, the heads of the intelligence and security agencies, senior officials, experts, and academics, as it considers necessary. So the evidence they receive is potentially highly biased. And so it's inevitable that this group of useful idiots will end up producing suitable propaganda, which then informs the media agenda, where other useful idiots unquestionably regurgitate the same propaganda. And here's a perfect example of what I mean. The Times claim that Iran poses a higher risk to our security than Russia. And if you see the highlighted quote there, it says the threat of assassination and other violence from Iran is now at the level posed by Russia, which is exactly the narrative straight out of the report itself, uncritically repeated. Charles, where do we start with this? They have a history of producing these reports, and we now have all three of the main targets of warfare that we've been hearing about for so long from the one organization.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. I think predominantly it's the note of incredible familiarity that this is the tactic deployed and simply the name of the country is changed. But also it sets up two things. First of all, in terms of the going back to Russia, election interference, all the rest of it, it provides a smokescreen and covers or obscures the activities of the state, the British state, in terms of meddling in areas that, frankly, it shouldn't. And also, it is absolutely queuing up the possibility of a false flag and therefore turning this into what might be regarded as a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I think this, it harks back to sort of 2005-6 period where the line from the Minister of Defence was changed from dealing with matters overseas to keeping our streets safer, and that continued narrative. And you see exactly that this is the same thing happening now.
So Vanessa, lots of integrity there, but the sort of MO doesn't change. They don't really have any new way of approaching these problems.
No, absolutely not. And I would say one of the steering factors in this report is, of course, Israel and the Zionist movement lobby in the UK, which we know increasingly how powerful it is and how many sectors of British governance it's infiltrated from all directions. Quite extraordinary. I mean, they don't talk about the threat to British democracy from the state capture by Israel. And it's similar to before when they were raising alarms about Huawei interfering with mobile phone technology in the UK, but failing to point out the Israeli infiltration of cyber surveillance, etc. in the UK. It's extraordinary, really.
And just to finish, Charles, they always do this with a straight face. How is that possible?
I don't know. We can be but continually amazed. And but the regrettable truth is that this will be absolutely absorbed and taken as fact by people who read publications like The Times. And if you cast your mind back to late 2024, when, as if reading off exactly the same script, Mark Rowley, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, and indeed Ken McCallum, Chief of MI5, were from nowhere plucking out the state threat from Iran story, and it was never substantiated, and they were never asked where they had got that specific intelligence from. And of course, that there is no evidence of any being there, but it doesn't stop them from saying it.
Indeed.